Good evening, everyone. Welcome to A Moment in History, an event to help confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson as the next Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. Thank you for joining. We're going to give a few moments for folks to log in. And while we're waiting, why don't you give us an idea where you're coming from? So if you can go to the chat function and just chat your location, where you're coming in from. We're streaming live on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, Instagram, as well as this Zoom link that you have logged in on. And so we'd love to see where everyone is coming in from. We've got folks from the ATL, where I am sitting, Savannah, Georgia, my hometown, Chicago, Illinois. We've got Richmond, California. Let's see, New Orleans, Houston, Atlanta, Georgia, Youngstown, Ohio. Shout out to South Florida, Miami, Judge Jackson's home. We see New York City, New Jersey, Kansas City, Van Buren Township, Michigan, Toronto, Canada. Shout out to the Canucks. We've got Washington, D.C., Buffalo, New York, Macon, Georgia. Georgia's representing today. Michigan, New York City, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, Miami. Got California, Long Island, Brooklyn in the house, Orlando, Florida, Chicago. Philly is representing tonight, Maryland, St. Petersburg, Florida, some other folks from down in Savannah. The ATL is representing Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., Stoughton, Mass., Houston, Texas, Garrison, New York, Quincy, Massachusetts, Warner Robins, Georgia. All right. Rancho Cucamonga, California. We got Puerto Rico in the house, the Woodlands, Texas, Cincinnati. It's great to have everyone join us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We'll just give a few more minutes and then we'll get started with our program. See Gary, Indiana, St. Petersburg, Florida, Washington, D.C., Winterville, Georgia, Bentonville, Arkansas, Salt Lake City, Utah, Bronx, New York, McDonough, Georgia. Some more folks from Savannah. Shout out to my mom who sent this to her list. Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. All right. And we will get started here in about 60 seconds. I see Kissimmee, Florida. Los Angeles, California. The ATL, Kansas City, Missouri, I'm assuming. Kansas City, Missouri, I'm assuming. Kathleen, Georgia, New York City, Miami, Oxnard, California. More Puerto Rico, New York City. And it is 7:05, so we're going to go ahead and get started, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Please continue to log in. Please continue to share this information out with your friends and family, your network. That's one of the things we're going to be calling on you to do throughout this event. Again, my name is Robert James II. I am privileged to know Ketanji. She was a year behind me in law school and is as wonderful as she has been advertised to be. She is brilliant. She is dedicated. She's a public servant, and she is uniquely prepared to serve as the next Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Tonight, you're going to hear from many of Ketanji's friends, colleagues, who will give you an insight into who she is as a person, why she's qualified to serve on the court, and how you can help by contacting your senators to help get her over the hump and make history in the United States. Tonight, we are going to really push for KBJ, as she is affectionately known, to be confirmed for the Supreme Court of the United States. We want you to not only share this information out by email, but send out text messages, but especially post on social media. Post to your social media accounts and use the hashtags, hashtag Confirm KBJ and hashtag KBJ for SCOTUS. You'll be receiving this information via email. If you've registered, you'll receive all of the information that's being presented tonight after the event. But we certainly want you to put it out there, share it with your networks, share it on social media, and just let's drum up some more enthusiasm about this incredibly historic nomination and this incredibly wonderful person who will serve all Americans extremely well as a member of the United States Supreme Court. So tonight we're going to just take you through a brief program, again, introducing you to our friend Ketanji. One of her best friends and college roommates, Nina Coleman Simmons, will be presenting that information, and we'll have a chat to give you a sense of Ketanji as a person. We have an incredible presentation by Professor Kimberly Jenkins Robinson, who will give an overview of the confirmation process and give us some education about what is really happening behind the scenes and how does this all work. Then Janine Gilbert and Erica Reed-Gross will present information on how you can reach out to your senator. That's really what we're asking you to do tonight. We're asking you to reach out to your senators and let them know how much you support Ketanji, whether you're in a Democratic state or in a Republican state. Whoever your senators are, it's important that you register your support for Ketanji. They need to know that their constituents are paying attention and that their constituents want to see someone as qualified as Ketanji achieve this incredible goal. We will hear from Rich Bury, who will talk about Ketanji's passion for public service, something that she's displayed throughout her professional career. Karen Freeman Wilson will comment on this moment in history and really place it into context. And then we'll wrap it up and we'll call everyone to action again, give you some information on how you can support Ketanji, talk about some next steps, and certainly acknowledge everyone who's put in so much hard work to get us to this point tonight. And so next we'll start the program off by learning a little bit more about Ketanji. My friend Joseph is going to share a video that was aired on Good Morning America just a few weeks ago that kind of gives some insight into Ketanji through the eyes of her best friends, Nina Simmons, Antoinette Sequeira Coakley, and Lisa White Fairfax. Joseph, take it away. Thank you.
A look at Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson, her lifelong friends, sharing stories from their time as undergrad roommates to law students at Harvard. Deborah Roberts joins us now with more on this. Good morning, Deb.
Hey there, Robin. Well, they kind of pulled back the curtains on the life of Judge Jackson. They called themselves the ladies during their college days, a tight group of friends who had each other's backs during the college days. There were parties and fun moments, they say, but it was clear that their spirited friend Ketanji, who had been a standout student, was going to go far.
With Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination to the Supreme Court, the loudest cheers may be coming from these three.
It was a lot of screaming and jumping and so excited.
Crying and laughing at the same time. That moment was emotional, watching her actually stand behind the president when she was introduced and then watching her step forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Aside from family, few know the 51-year-old appellate court judge as well as these women, lifelong friends with an unbreakable bond that began more than 30 years ago, first as undergraduate roommates, then as law students, both at Harvard.
I remember you guys remember years ago when we were in our college room, our college dorm, saying to Ketanji, you are going to be the first Black woman on the U.S. Supreme Court. You are going to be it. It was that clear back then.
Their friend, they say, always has had the right stuff.
Ketanji can organize something, bring people together, and she recognizes the strength of everyone and make sure that you recognize your strengths as well.
To me, that's the essence of being a great leader.
Through all-night study sessions and now as a judge, wife, and mother, Jackson, they say, has always had their back.
I'm now a law professor, and Ketanji was actually instrumental in helping me make that transition. She really made me feel like I could do it, supported me through the process.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014, and one day I look up and Ketanji and Lisa are at my door, and that was amazing. It was a time where I wasn't telling people, I wasn't really sharing it, and she showed up. Didn't ask any questions, she just showed up.
They all know the real Judge Jackson.
I think people don't know that she's funny and that she's an amazing storyteller.
She loves to dance. Is that surprising? I don't know, but we were in college and law school. We'd be the first ones out there. She'd be dancing, having a good time.
So many memories from a time they were simply called the ladies.
The ladies. Go ladies, go ladies, go. Leading that chant, but Ketanji, that she would lead that chant every time onto the dance floor.
Now, with their longtime friend poised to make history, these ladies couldn't be prouder.
However she needs us, whenever she needs us. You want to send me a text at 3 a.m. You want to call me at whatever time. We got you.
For Ketanji, it was not sufficient just for her to be successful. She wanted for all of us to be successful as well. And so we all benefited, I think, from that relationship. And that has sustained us all these years.
The judge has been pretty private about her life, but a few years ago, she shared a sweet letter from her then 11-year-old daughter, Leela, who wrote to former President Obama, making the case for why her mom should be an appellate court judge, saying she's determined, she's honest, and she doesn't break a promise, even if there are other things she wants to do. I mean, nothing like a shout out.
Great. I know, right? I know. But it's wonderful. We think about, I don't know, everybody, you think about the friends that you've had in your life who've been there before and have, I can't imagine what they must be feeling. Well, now we can.
Real person.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thanks.
Now we do.
Yeah, we do. Thanks for sharing that, Deb.
I want to be.
Joseph, thank you so much for sharing that. And so we'll invite Nina to the stage as well. Hey, Nina, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm great. I'm excited
Well,
about this event. I'm excited about this week. I'm going to DC tomorrow. I'm just ready. I'm ready to go.
Well, you have put in an incredible amount of work behind the scenes over the last few weeks. Those of us who have been on this committee and even before have seen all the emails and all the prep work that you're doing to help Nina, to help Ketanji get to where she's going. So I want to start out by asking, so one of the things they cover in the GMA story, so what was the song? Like if there was one song that they were going to play in the club, the night at the party, that was going to get the ladies on the floor, what was the party starter? What was the song?
Ladies First by Queen Latifah. And I wish I could play it right now so everyone can get into it, but that was it. That would send us out. I don't know what year it is, but we all know it's been a few years since that came out, but that was our song. And it was, when I hear it now, I still get up and get excited and energized. And yeah, it was, that was our theme song, so to speak, if we had to pick one.
That's awesome.
And that's where he got the ladies from.
Right. Who was the best dancer?
Everyone had their talents. I was free form. Lisa was California. Ketanji was more like, I'm a dancer. And yeah, I can't pick. I'm not gonna say. We all had our talents.
Okay. Everybody brought something to the table. That's
yes,
cool.
that's right. That's right.
That's really, really cool. So So tell us some more about, you talked about Ketanji as a friend and the way that she supported you at your time in need. Talk about Ketanji as a mom. We've got some young people on tonight. And I know a lot of parents have their kids and their girls especially watching tonight and watching Ketanji go through the process. Talk about Ketanji as a mom.
So she is a mom, like she does everything else. She's a mom. So she brings 100,000% to everything she does. And if anyone, we talk about work-life balance. I think it's a sort of a lie, but she has a priority straight. She prioritizes her family. She prioritizes making sure that her children are okay, that her husband, that they're a intact circle, that's the source of the strength, is the support of her husband, her kids, supporting her kids, and her kids being okay. So that's where it starts with her first as a mom, but then you have the organizational skill of Ketanji Brown Jackson. You step into her house and you see the calendar, the schedule, the meals planned out, just an incredible amount of organization to keep the whole thing running while performing at such a high level in the professional realm. It's amazing. It amazes me every day how much she's able to spend time with her girls. She makes sure she spends time. She's at their school. She's like on school boards. I'm like, I can't even manage to bake a cookie or anything. She's like actually on the parents' committees, involved, not just in name only or by check only. She really is involved at the schools that the girls went to and now going, just graduating from and things like that. So she brings her heart and soul to everything, and especially her kids. They're number one in all of this. So yeah, she's fantastic. What you see is what you get. She brings all of that to the table and all of that to her family and to her friends.
That's incredible to hear, but not surprising. All of us who have been around Ketanji. I was talking to someone about Ketanji just yesterday, and I said, there are lots of incredibly accomplished people at Harvard Law School, smart people, but there's levels to this thing. And Ketanji, when you meet Ketanji, you knew that there was another level that she was going to. There's smart folks, and then there's law review smart.
Right.
And there's keeping up with all of your family and your friends and relationships and all of that, and just the genuineness as a person. I want to ask you, because you've got such a close relationship and you've got some more insight. How is Ketanji doing right now? I know she's under a bright spotlight. How's she doing?
She's tired, right? Exhausted. But she is definitely hanging in there. Her response is not to complain, because she has done everything up to this point to be here. So she is full of gratitude. She's full of humility. She understands the enormity of this, not only for her, but for her family, for this country, for Black people, for women. She understands that, and she feels that deeply. And she's very grateful. I called her maybe a couple of days ago just to check in to see how she's doing. And the first thing she does is, how's your son? How's your daughter? And she knows what they're actually doing. Like, how does she remember that stuff when she has this enormous thing happening in her life? But that's the kind of person she is. She will ask about you, right? Even though, imagine how enormous. I look at the pictures with her, with all the security and with all the cameras, and my heart just, feels for her. And I'm feeling that. I'm feeling her exhaustion, but she keeps on going. Again, this is what she's been preparing for. And I've heard it compared to preparing for the Olympics. This is it. You practice all your life, you perform, and this is what you've waited your life to do and she's at her Olympics. So she's made for this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And all of us here tonight who know Ketanji personally, the Harvard community, but there's also people from across the country who are just connected to one of us or who got this information and really want to be supportive of Ketanji. I know that you're getting ready to leave and get on a train and go to Washington to be there and support her at the hearings that begin tomorrow at 11 a.m. at the U.S. Senate. Is there anything else you want to share with the group that's assembled tonight? Anything else you want to share with the audience on our streaming platforms across the country? Anything else that you want to tell us about Ketanji as we get prepared?
I mean, I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank also just the committee that helped with this event, but people around this country who are holding their own events, holding their own kind of watch parties. I love the momentum. I love the love that's out there for her. It's important that we just keep going, we stay strong, and then we write our senators. And I think people think, oh, I have a Democrat, I don't have to worry. I have a Democratic senator, I don't have to worry about it. Please, volumes speak volumes. So please ask 10 people to send a letter, to contact their senators. We have a strategy around, which we'll get into later, around how to approach maybe some Republican senators that are on the line, or how to generally approach them, but I will not speak on that. So my last word is Ketanji is very thankful. I know she's, even though she's doing has all this on her plate, she is thinking about everyone. She knows what people are doing, and she's very grateful. So I just wanted to convey her thanks to everyone, and I will tell her about this when I get to DC in the morning. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Nina, for giving us a real inside view of Ketanji as a person, which I think is really important. You know, we get into this political process and this, you know, the talking heads on CNN or NBC or MSNBC or whatever, and you might lose sight of the fact that this is a real person, a real human being who is going through this, but is also, you know, prepared and has been preparing for her whole life. And so the next person we want to hear from tonight is another friend from law school, another classmate, Professor Kimberly Jenkins Robinson, who is the distinguished Elizabeth D. and Richard A. Merrill Professor at the University of Virginia School of Law. And Kimberly is going to talk to us tonight about the process, the Supreme Court of the United States confirmation process. We've got an expert, y'all. So I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly and let her share. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Rob. I'm really excited to share this with everyone. I'm going to share the nuts and bolts of the process and the timing of the process. And I'm also going to give you some behind the scenes information that I gained from actually talking with one of the staffers on the Judiciary Committee. So really excited about that. So before I jump into that though, I just have to echo some of what's already been said. So I was blessed to be Ketanji's roommate in law school, and the two words that I would use to describe her are humble.
Kim, I think we lost your video there. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The two words that I would use to describe her are humble brilliance. We were on the law review together. Our joke at the apartment was that we spent more hours together at law review than we ever did in our apartment. And it was a grueling experience, but you know, she always did it with determination and focus. And she was just really an amazing and determined person, but she really stood out for not just being brilliant, because there were a lot of people who were really exceptional in our view, but she was also very humble. And it was that combination that really made me think she would go very far. So yes, I'm excited to head to Washington and see some of the hearings and just be present. So really excited about that. All right, so in terms of the Senate confirmation process, just want to give everyone a sense of that. So upon her nomination, Ketanji had to answer extensive, exhaustive questionnaire that delved into everything she's ever written, every opinion she's ever written, different things about her personal life, her speeches, all of that had to be turned over to the committee. And in addition to that, she had to undergo a FBI background check. So she had to provide a lot of personal information that then had to be investigated fully. As we've all seen, sort of the press and pictures of her making the rounds to different senators, as she's doing that if you're not on the Judiciary Committee, that's really her opportunity to have those senators get to know her and answer any questions that they might have, because they're not able to ask them in the hearings that are coming up. So we all know the hearings are starting tomorrow at 11, as Rob mentioned. And the sequence of the hearings is the following. So the first day are actually not going to be any questions for her. It's really going to be opening statements from the senators. There will be people who introduced Ketanji, and then she will have a chance to make a opening statement herself, but there will be no questions tomorrow. So if you're thinking, okay, let's get to the questioning, not going to happen until Tuesday at 9 a.m. So Tuesday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. are the days for questioning. And in addition, so they will have, each senator has 30 minutes in order of seniority. So they will proceed in that fashion. And then after that, the second day, they each have 20 minutes, same thing, starting in order of seniority. Wednesday also, there's scheduled discussion of the FBI background check. So the staffer explained to me that this is a chance to say that if there are any questions or concerns that come up in the FBI questionnaire, they do a closed door session. So there will not be any press about that. You have to have a clearance to be in the room to hear what's discussed. But that will be a closed door session on Wednesday that will explore anything in the background check. And then Thursday, you will also hear testimony from other witnesses, as well as the American Bar Association. So the American Bar Association rates every federal judge that's nominated, but definitely, of course, the justices. And she has already been rated, it won't be no surprise to any of us here, as well qualified. So that will be discussed by the American Bar Association, and there will be others who will discuss on her behalf. So what's happening behind the scenes as they're preparing for these hearings? So members of the President's Party will coordinate questions and topics that they want to cover. They want to try to avoid duplication, right? Without that kind of coordination, you might end up having repeat questions. I have no doubt that the Republicans are likely doing that as well. The other thing that those who are in the same party as the president will try to might do a longer lead into a question to give her a chance to catch her breath if there was a particularly difficult set of questions preceding their question. In fact, some senators prepare so much that they will do a mock session where they will practice asking the nominee questions and sort of prepare in that way. In addition, staffers also gather all the materials that are referenced in the questionnaire so that they will have them ready for any of the senators if they need them. So if there's a speech she gave, if there's an opinion she issued, they have to have it at their fingertips so that they can pull it up if it's needed. So then once you go to these days of hearing, there have been some situations where there's been more than one hearing if there's been a concern that's arisen, but we're going to trust that that's not going to be the case here and move on to what's the timing, what's next after the hearings. So after this, the questioning is not done. Senators can submit questions in writing. They will submit hundreds of questions. They may be over 1,000 questions, and the nominee has to respond to those questions quickly, get the answers back to the committee. The Judiciary Committee will next meet then in open session to decide on the recommendation that they will report to the committee and to the Senate. And there are three options for them that she will be either reported favorably, which is all what we hope will happen, unfavorably, or without recommendation. So those are three options. Once debate begins on the Senate floor, there will be two votes on the floor of the Senate. First, because Senate debate is unlimited, you have to call for cloture to basically end debate. And then there are 30 hours of debate remaining after closure is called. And I'll give you a sense, everyone sort of wants to know, so when is the vote? Like, when is this going to happen now that the hearings are finally taking place? I wish I had a crystal ball I could answer that for you, but I can give you what I know. So I looked over the last 16 nominees. I had to omit a couple because there were two sets of hearings. So Kavanaugh or Thomas are omitted, but for the last 16 nominees, the average amount of time from the last hearing date until the vote was 21 days. However, the longest amount of time was about 49 days. That was Justice Kennedy. And the shortest was Justice Stevens, who was just 7 days. In addition, you might just want to know, like, how long will it take from the time that she was nominated to the time that she will be confirmed? On average, the total is 59 days. But Justice Kagan, it took as long as 87 days. And Justice Stevens, it was only 19 days. So it can take a little while for them to get done. It varies by each of them, but I've given you at least a sense of the range and the possibilities and the average for those. And finally, just this effort is so critical because all the senators will be voting. And we want to make sure to, during this time, to show our support by reaching out to the senators, whether we think they're going to be in favor of her or not. We want to make sure to show our support and let the Senate know how much support she has out there. So thanks to all of you. And I hope
that was great. Kimberly, and just to remind everyone, it's so critical that we all reach out to our senators and let them know that Ketanji is a fantastic person. She is well qualified. She has done the work. She's served as a public servant for her entire career. And she will bring an incredible amount of lived experience to the Supreme Court of the United States and be able to make that court give it even better ability to represent all of us when it's making decisions. And so now we'll go back to our presentation. Thanks again, Kimberly, for a great overview and giving us that background on the process.
Thanks for having me.
So now we'll go to another friend of Ketanji's, Rich Bury, who is the CEO of the Robin Hood Foundation. Just a little bit on Rich. He is an incredible public servant in his own right. He is a public service fellow at the NYU Wagner Graduate School of Public Service. Again, CEO of Robin Hood. He is a visiting lecturer at the Yale Law School. He's a Yale Law School grad, so even the Yale guys can have something to say about this. But even more importantly, he is a college classmate and friend of Ketanji's. So Rich, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we would love to hear from you about Ketanji's career and her passion for public service.
Thanks so much, Robert. It is so exciting to be here with everyone today to celebrate the nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. First of all, I just want to say, Judge Jackson may be among the most qualified nominees in history. As we all know, Harvard College, Harvard Law School, private practice, Supreme Court clerkship, sentencing commission, 8 years on the district court in DC, currently a judge in the DC circuit, the second most important federal bench in the country. Like all of you, I am in awe of Judge Jackson's qualifications. I'm in even greater awe of who she is. We know that the Supreme Court has never looked like the people it serves. It has never reflected the rich array of Americans who are subject to its decisions. And as you were just saying, Robert, the justices bring all of their personal and professional experiences to every case they hear. The court loses and America loses when the justices do not bring a diversity of experience to their work. And we all know that Judge Jackson will be the first Black woman to serve in the court in its 232-year history. That alone would be cause for jubilation, anger that has taken this long, but certainly jubilation that we are here now. But I am equally excited that she come to the court after a lifetime of public service. We know that she comes from a family of public servants, educators, and law enforcement officers. And notably, she will be the first federal public defender to serve in the Supreme Court. Working as a public defender is in so many ways the purest form of public service. Public defenders are often criticized, and we know that some will criticize Judge Jackson for representing indigent defendants in criminal cases. They will say that her public service is somehow disqualifying. But of course, they cannot be more wrong. By representing criminal defendants, Judge Jackson was not only representing the rights of the accused, she's defending the rights of every American. The constitutional right enshrined in the Sixth Amendment to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury, to call witnesses and confront witnesses, and to have the assistance of a lawyer. As much as any part of the Constitution, the Sixth Amendment guards against government tyranny, the ability of those with power to take away the freedom of those without power. With her qualifications, with her intellect, she could have had any job she chooses, any career she chooses, but she chose public service. It's just always been who she is. Throughout her career, from undergrad to now, at the Office of the Federal Defender, at the Sentencing Commission, and now on the bench, she has chosen to use her extraordinary skills not to lift up the powerful, but to lift up all of us, to stand against a justice system that, to paraphrase Brian Stevenson, often treats you better if you are rich and guilty than if you are poor and innocent. The question is not whether someone who has made the choice to serve as a public defender is qualified to sit in the court. The question is, why has it taken us 232 years to have someone on the court who has made the choice to serve as a public defender? She's done her part. Her entire life, her entire career is a testimony to excellence. She's inspired me and so many others, including my niece, a Black woman and recent Howard graduate who intends to go to law school and follow in her footsteps. And now it's time for us to do our part. We know that the things that make her such a great person and that will make her a transformative justice are many of the things that some of her, the enemies of justice will use to stand in her way. So now the time for us to do our part, to contact our senators, to organize our networks and our friends, and to make history and make sure that Judge Jackson becomes Justice Jackson.
Rich, thank you so much for that impassioned reflection on Ketanji as a public servant. I think oftentimes we can lose sight of the importance of a commitment to public service and what that really means. You've reflected it in your own career in life, and certainly Ketanji Brown Jackson has reflected it in her career. Again, Justice Jackson, or Judge Jackson, soon to be Justice Jackson, is a person who, when we met in law school, it was very clear that there was something unique and different about her, even amidst some really exceptionally talented people. Now we're moving on to the next part of the program, which is what we're here for. We're here to learn how to reach out to your senator. We're here to encourage you to do that. And in order to get us ready and prepared to reach out to our senators, we've got another great classmate of Ketanji's, Janine Gilbert. Janine and I have been friends since law school. She's the first deputy commissioner of the New York City Department of Information Technology. She's a former assistant deputy commissioner for criminal justice reform for the New York Police Department, former district attorney in New York City. She graduated from Harvard 3 different times, y'all. She's got an undergraduate degree, JD, and a degree from the Kennedy School of Government. She's very well qualified to explain to us how to reach out to our senators. Janine, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here tonight and leading us through this process.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you all for coming and joining us tonight. We are very excited to share our strategy and our senator outreach plan with you in order to support Ketanji. I just want to say I've known Ketanji since freshman or sophomore year in college. So that's a very long time. We were classmates at Harvard Law School. I also want to say that as a former prosecutor and a former member of law enforcement, I can't stress the importance of having a public defender and that voice and perspective on the highest court in the land. It is something that has been missing and something that is extremely important and needed. The second thing I want to say is a bit of a disclaimer. I just want to be clear that although I work for the city of New York, I'm not representing the mayor on this call. Nothing I say is his perspective. I'm not representing the city of New York or the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications. So now I'm going to get into tonight's, the meat of tonight's event. We are going to provide you with 4 documents tonight. One is the Senator Outreach Plan. This is an outline of the plan. It's what we're asking you to do, who we're asking you to contact, and how to approach them. The next thing we are going to provide for you is a senator email contact list, which will have actual hyperlinks that allow you to click on the link and you'll go directly to the senator contact page. The third thing we're providing you is a draft email, and I'll explain a little bit more about that shortly, but I just want to stress that you should personalize this and make it yours. And the last thing we're going to provide to you, and this will be via email later, is a research roundup. And that will be a summary of data from multiple national polls that speaks to, number one, the positive views and support for Ketanji Brown Jackson that exists among American citizens and voters. And two, how favorably she compares to the past three nominees in this regard. And you should utilize any data from that research roundup in your emails if you so choose. Now, here's what we're asking you to do. First, we are asking you to write or contact both of your own United States senators. Now, for those folks in Washington, D.C., and for those folks in Puerto Rico, and those who no longer live in the United States, we understand that you may not have a personal senator to write to, but please select any and all of the other senators to reach out to. We will be providing you, as I mentioned, a list of all 50 senators and their contact pages, the hyperlinks to their contact pages, where you can send an email directly to each of them. We are asking you to definitely contact your own personal senators as a constituent, and let them know that you are a constituent contacting them and that this is an important thing for you. So you'll be receiving a draft email as a template. Again, we highly recommend that you personalize this email. Please don't send it exactly as is, or everyone will be getting the same email. Specifically, there's a section in brackets in the email that we're providing you, which has certain statistics that you should decide if you want to use or not include. Some senators may be persuaded by those statistics, others may not. Please decide for yourself if you want to include them. Please email your own U.S. senator, your own U.S. senators, both of them, and that's even if you think they are likely to vote for Ketanji Brown Jackson, because we want all senators to know that her confirmation is of the utmost importance to their constituents and the nation. And if you decide that you would rather call your senator, we will also be providing a contact number for the U.S. Capitol switchboard. We ask that you consider using talking points that we are providing at the end of the Senator Outreach Plan, which again, you'll be receiving, and I believe there may be a link in the chat coming. But again, like the email, we ask that you make the talking points your own. We are providing, all you have to do is, and by the way, when you call the U.S. Capitol switchboard, just request the office of the senator that you'd like to reach. And just, I want to give a special thanks and acknowledgement to the NAACP for the original draft of the talking points. We modified them somewhat, and we ask that you modify them a little bit more for yourself. Basically, the idea is to stress her skills, qualifications, and that you expect fairness in this hearing. Second, we're also providing you 2 targeted lists of U.S. senators to contact, and this is even if they are not your U.S. senator. We want you to reach out to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and this week especially is important. You should reach out to the 22 members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which will be listed again in the Senate Outreach Plan, particularly the Republican members, and I can't stress that more, particularly the Republican members, and request that they, number one, support the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the United States Supreme Court, and number two, vote to have a floor vote by the entire Senate body so that her nomination is not lost in committee. We want you to also reach out to 14 senators who may be persuaded to vote for confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, there's some overlap between the 2 lists, and you don't need to reach out to the senators twice. What I would say is there are also on that list of 14, there are 2 Democrats. And I'm sure nobody's going to be surprised by these 2 names, but Joe Manchin and Christian Sinema. And we need them to know that it is an imperative for this nation that they vote to confirm Ketanji Brown Jackson as a Supreme Court justice. Now, please note that when you are communicating with senators who may not represent your state and or who are on the fence, we recommend that you do the following whenever possible. tie your outreach back to a colleague or a friend or someone who is a constituent in their home state or an influential interest group or cause that they care about. But further frame it around being a fellow American. Remind them that they are there to represent the American people, not just their state, everyone. Number two, appeal to the senator's sense of fairness and their judicial nominee voting record where relevant. So I'll give you an example, and this is also in the outreach plan. Senator Collins, you may want to say, I'm aware that you voted to confirm Judge Jackson for federal judgeships twice in the past, and that you are known for being open-minded, fair, and nonpartisan in considering confirmation for judicial nominees. That might be something you want to say to her to remind her, to persuade her. Number three, specify any personal connection to Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson if you have one, as a character witness of sorts. So for instance, I can personally attest to her impeccable character, having come to know Judge Jackson when we both, for me, it would be went to Harvard College and Harvard Law School, and something of that nature. You want to reinforce for these senators that they want to be on the right side of history. That is a message that we want to send. We want them to be on the right side of history. This is the right thing to do. Now, there are some key dates that I want everyone to be aware of. As we all know, the Senate Judiciary hearings start tomorrow. So a vote is expected, and this is not, again, you heard from Kimberly that this is not a guarantee and that the dates change and can be extended or short. But we are expecting that there may be a vote sometime either March 24th, March 31st, sometime in the next week or two. And then once it goes to the full body, we are expecting that the full Senate confirmation vote may happen the week of April 4th or thereafter. So the action that you take has to happen quickly. This is something that you should start doing if you can, as soon as this Zoom call is over, and certainly no later than tomorrow. Now, if you're in DC, go to the hearings, go to the rallies. There's going to be a lot going on. Go there and support our friend, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And the last thing that I want to recommend is that you blanket social media with your support using the hashtags that actually Rob will be providing at the end of this presentation. So thank you all. That is our general strategy for now. And we look forward to seeing Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson in the future.
Thank you so much for all the hard work, Janine, and for giving us that level of detail and putting all this effort into getting this information out to all the people who are watching and everyone that we're going to share this with. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually show you a video that shows exactly how you should reach out to your senator. And we'll provide a link to that video as well, so that when you're sharing on social media or sharing with your family and friends, they can watch this quick video and really understand exactly what they need to do. Joseph?
Good evening. This is a brief tutorial on how to contact your state's two senators using the information we provided to you. So the first thing you want to do is you want to open up the two files that we provided. The first is a spreadsheet called Updated U.S. Senators Email Contact, and that contains the links to the websites for each of the senators from all 50 states. The second document we provided is a Word document that contains the email that we would like you to send. So first you want to make sure those two files are open. Then first you want to go to the spreadsheet and go down and find the links for your two senators. I'm going to use Georgia as an example. So once you find that, you want to click on the link provided, and that will take you to the contact page for your senator. So here you can see we're on the contact page. Some of the senators have multiple different ways to contact them about different issues. So if you find that what you want to do is you always want to click on the link that is related to share your views or share your opinions, not anything related to getting help with an agency or service. So click here, and then that opens up the spreadsheet. So the first thing you want to do is populate this contact information here by putting your name in. I'll just do that. Your address, your city, pick your state, prepare to provide that, and your phone number. And then most of them will ask you to identify the legislative issue you're contacting them about. So in this case, it would be judiciary. And then you want to fill in the subject. And the subject line we're recommending is, please confirm Ketanji Brown Jackson for SCOTUS. Then what you want to do is put in the email that we sent. So if you go back to the Word file, and you can grab, you don't need this part because they already know your name and what state because you filled that out in the contact section of the form. So you just want to grab all of this text, copy, go back to the form, and paste it in. All right, you can expand this. And then you just want to make sure everything is pasted in. You also want to check the formatting because sometimes these forms will kind of truncate your text. So you just want to go in and put some paragraph spaces in just so that the email's easier to read if it's printed or uploaded. Scroll back, make sure you've got everything in there. Then go all the way back up to the top and just make sure you filled out everything here. All of this is required information. So once you've checked everything and you're happy with it, you can go ahead and hit the send button. And then you should get a screen that confirms that they received your email, and that's it. So then you want to go back to your spreadsheet and then do the same for your second senator. So similarly, ask you about your legislative issue. So you'll select judiciary, put the same subject in here. It would be in your clipboard. And the same thing, you want to look at the formatting, put in some paragraph spaces. Just make sure everything is easy to read. Everything is in there. Go back up to the top, make sure all of that's filled in. And if you're happy with it and everything is done, you can go ahead and hit submit. If you're doing this during the Zoom call today, we're asking everyone once they're done contacting their senators to just put in the chat your name, your state, and the word done. And that will help us keep track of all of the contact that's been made. If you are looking at this video, but you weren't able to participate in the Zoom call, then we're asking you to just reply back to the Zoom invitation, just letting folks know that you're done, you contacted your two senators, and we can include that as part of the metrics that we're collecting to track what we're doing. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and you are on the Zoom call, you can just put them in the chat. If you're doing this separately, then you can just send an email, respond back to the folks who sent you the Zoom invitation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janine, and a special shout out to Erica Reed Gross, who is also another one of these phenomenal classmates and friends of Ketanji Brown Jackson. Shout out to Erica for that great video. So I'm going to go forward with the next element of our presentation tonight and really talk about where we are in terms of history. And there's no one better really to set the stage for this than Karen Freeman Wilson. Karen Freeman Wilson is the president of the Chicago Urban League. She's the former mayor of Gary, Indiana, Harvard Law School and Harvard College graduate, and just uniquely qualified to speak about not just Ketanji as a person, but where Ketanji fits into the context of history in the United States. So Karen, thanks for joining us tonight. Tell us about where we are in history and what makes Ketanji so incredibly qualified.
Thank you, Rob. And I'm excited to be a part of this movement. And I would just say to everyone who is tuned in, whether you are on YouTube or on Zoom, you are a part of history being made. But anytime history is being made, we have to look at it in the context of what has happened before. And when Ketanji talked about what happened or accepted her nomination, she was very clear on what had and who had gone before. And, you know, when you think about her nomination, you have to understand that the Supreme Court was established in 1789 and that the first Black woman was admitted to the practice of law, Charlotte Ray, in 1872, and that Judge Constance Baker Motley was admitted to the federal bench in 1966. And so even though it's taken 233 years to have a Black woman nominated to the United States Supreme Court, we understand that this historical event requires that we be prepared to ensure that not only is the nomination historical, but her taking her seat on the Supreme Court is a part of history. And you have to think about the fact that as she prepares to take her seat, as we have heard so many of the other speakers talk about, she is eminently qualified as a lawyer, as a jurist, and as a human being. But when you look at her qualifications and her character in the context of the colleagues that she will join on the United States Supreme Court, then you will see that she has reached or has fulfilled the promise and understood the rule that we as Black people understand every day of our lives, that we have to come more qualified than many of our colleagues. And so when you look at the fact that she is an Ivy League law school graduate, when you look at the fact that she is a public high school graduate, when you look at the fact that she has clerked for the Supreme Court, in fact, clerked for the Supreme Court justice whose place she has taken, when you look at all of the things that make her a wonderful candidate and that will make her an even better justice, we know that Ketanji Brown Jackson is the person that we want to help cross over the finish line as the first Black female justice on the United States Supreme Court. So we're hoping that you will heed the information that you've heard, that you will do what you've been asked to do, that you will not only contact Democratic members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, but that you will contact Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and that the celebration that we saw during the GMA clip will be another celebration, and that's of Ketanji Brown Jackson being sworn onto the Supreme Court as the Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Thank you so much. And I'm just excited that the Chicago Urban League and my colleagues there can play a small role in history as well as the National Urban League.
Karen, thank you so much. And again, thank you so much to the Chicago Urban League for providing this channel tonight for us to make this presentation. And I'm really so grateful for how you placed this in context and really gave us a sense of history. And so now, as we start to come to a close tonight, we really want to call you to action. We want to understand what is it that we can do. And certainly the biggest thing that we can do is to reach out to our senators, to share our feelings about Ketanji, her qualifications, what makes her uniquely qualified to sit on the United States Supreme Court. You saw that she's not only a graduate of a public high school, an Ivy League law school graduate. She clerked for Justice Breyer. She's been a public defender. She served on the Sentencing Commission. She has done all of the things that make her so much more qualified, frankly, than many other prior nominees. And so now what do? How do we join together to help Ketanji reach this next pinnacle of her career and serve on the United States Supreme Court for all Americans? As we mentioned earlier, you're going to receive an email from KBJ for SCOTUS at gmail.com. And that email is going to have information in it about how you can use these tools that we've prepared for you. Reach out to your senators. You can forward that email to at least 10 people. But we want to make sure that everyone who is with us here tonight, contact your senators. Make sure you do that step. Forward it to 10 people. Then we want you to make sure that you're posting about your support on social media. We'll share with you some previously developed photographs and frames that you can post on your social media accounts with the hashtags, hashtag Confirm KBJ and hashtag KBJ for SCOTUS. Post those on your social media accounts. You can post the link to the video for how to contact the senators and really get that information out into your networks. You can tune into the hearing tomorrow beginning at 11 a.m. according to the Judiciary Committee schedule. Ketanji Brown Jackson will begin her confirmation process for position as Associate Justice for the United States Supreme Court. If you can, please tune in. Let your friends know, your family. Pay attention to what's happening in those hearings. We know that there will be negative questions. We know that there will be attacks, but we want to make sure that even during that hearing, we are continuing to communicate with those Senate offices and let them know that we're watching and that we expect for Judge Jackson to be confirmed. There will be upcoming in-person events. We're going to give you some information about a couple of them, one in Washington, D.C. and one in Philadelphia. And then finally, and perhaps even most importantly, pray and send your positive thoughts to Judge Jackson, to her family. Lift her up. She is a woman of faith and she will feel that. And so please send her your positivity, your prayers as she goes through this process and again, tries to achieve this pinnacle of service, something that she has been working so hard for her entire life. The upcoming events in Washington, D.C., there's an event on the steps of the Supreme Court tomorrow, beginning at 9 a.m. There's a rally that is sponsored by the National Women's Law Center Action Fund, the Black Women's Roundtable. And that event will be tomorrow again at 9 a.m. in front of the Supreme Court of the United States in Washington, D.C. There's also an event in Philadelphia next Saturday at 11 a.m. In Dilworth Plaza. There's a rally at 11 a.m. next Saturday in Philadelphia, again, in support of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. But finally, I want to give acknowledgement and thanks to so many people who have been working so hard to pull this event together. Again, to Karen Freeman Wilson and her team at the Chicago Urban League for providing us with this platform and really putting that organization's energy behind tonight's event. We also want to thank our design and communications partners, Tactile Group, Mark Coleman, President and CEO, for helping us to put the presentation together. We got incredible help from our producer tonight, Joseph Gerstel, founder and CEO of Get Some Class. And we also have live stream support from Aston Mack, who is live streaming this for us on his channel on Twitch, Aston Mack TV, as well as on YouTube and other streaming services. And then finally, I want to thank our event committee. Many of us spoke tonight, but you certainly would not have seen any of this information without all these people. Byron McLean, Corey Flom Meltzer, Craig Hickman, Erica Reed Gross again, Janine Gilbert, Junie Francois, Karen Freeman Wilson, Karen Suber, Kiva Terry, Kimberly Jenkins Robinson, Nina Simmons, Rich Bury, Simone Pierce Harding. Thank you to all of those and any names that I neglected to mention who helped put this event together and make this possible. I certainly want to thank you as well. And then finally, I want to end with this. Now is the moment, and this is her time. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, as we've stated, is uniquely qualified. She's fantastic, but she's never going to tell you that. She's humble. We just lost a few years ago a justice that became known as the notorious RBG. Now I think it's time for us to celebrate the victorious KBJ. Thank you for joining us tonight. God bless you, and please get out there and support Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court of the United States.